This is the Note Closer Show, where you get the latest developments in distressed note investing and learn the secrets of how you can control millions of dollars worth of property for pennies on the dollar. Get educated and entertained by someone who has closed thousands of deals and lives to support you in achieving the same. Now, here's your host, CEO of We Close Notes, Scott Carson.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. As always, Scott Carson, excited to be here with you today. And today's episode, I want to talk a little bit about what's on everybody's mind right now. And I know everybody is kind of in that, not everybody, but there's a lot of people that are in that point of stressing out about the pandemic, the coronavirus, and things like that. So I thought I'd come on and talk a little bit about how that can affect your note business, how it can affect your real estate investing side, whether it does affect it or doesn't affect it. And I first want to start off by simply saying, hey, for everybody, just take a deep breath. Yes, with the recent cancellations of South by Southwest here in Austin, Texas, and Traffic and Conversion Summit, the biggest marketing event, being delayed or postponed or canceled in San Diego earlier today, along with Major League Baseball, NHL, the NBA all suspending things or delaying things. What we have to do is that's precautionary measures. And I get that. It's a great thing to be precautionary. Here's the thing you gotta realize. It's still a relatively smaller amount of cases, and you still have a high recovery rate what's going on. Yes, if you get sick, you've got a 14 to 19-day quarantine, and that can affect you definitely not being able to work or things like that. And that's kind of what I really want this to focus more so on anything more than anything else, is what are the long-term effects. I don't believe we're gonna have millions dead. I don't think it's the zombie virus. Yes, are people going to get sick? Yes, they're going to get sick and they're going to recover. You know, what you find obviously is the elderly are the most affected. Those with underlying conditions, heart disease, diabetes, older. We're starting to get numbers in from China and seeing the recovery rates there versus those who've gotten sick. Now, I'm not trying to minimize this at any means of the imagination. I've got family that are elderly. I'm worried about them. I'm trying to hope that they're taking good care. What it comes down to more than anything else is make sure and doing a couple of things. One, washing your hands, good health strategies, okay? Drink plenty of fluids, and then also avoid bigger crowds. Now, that's the beauty of today's world with Facebook, social media, virtual meetings. You can still get a lot done of work-wise without even having to be around a crowd. And that's one of the things that we like that we've done over the last few years is making sure to separate ourselves and doing online events. I think it's be much more prevalent. Now, when you look at the cancellations of these major league sports teams or suspending the seasons or these big festivals, there are ripple effects that you have to keep in mind, okay? There are ripple effects to people being, government buildings being shut down for 30 days. There are ripple effects to this. The first ripple effect being more than anything else is that people are going to be out of work. People are going to be laid off. People are going to be don't have savings for the most part. 85% of the United States doesn't have a month of savings. They're one missed paycheck away from being a default. So are we going to see more defaults over the next 3, 6, 9 months? Yes, we will. I'm not trying to come on here and say that's an opportunity. It's not an opportunity because what's going to happen? Well, we're going to see probably a cash inflection of money coming in from the government. There's going to be some bailouts. There's going to be some people doing some things. What's going to happen more so than anything else, especially if you're a note investor, here are the precautionary things. We'll talk about notes and then we'll talk about real estate. Here's a precautionary thing that you want to do as a note investor. If you've got people that are performing notes, you've got a portfolio of owner finance notes, or you bought non-performing notes, or you bought performing notes, I think one of the best things that you can do is just to relax a little bit. Hopefully you know what your borrowers are doing. Hopefully your borrowers are doing good things. But if you start seeing things happen, you're going to, things happen by defaults happening, people not paying. You're going to want to make sure and not sit around on that. You're going to make sure to jump on the phone or get your servicer involved to reach out to the borrowers, to reach out what's going on. Now, if they've been affected, being laid off, there's a lot of people here in Austin that, especially our service staff, your first-time buyers, your service industry people, bartenders, wait staff, hotel management, things like that. They don't have the savings, or they don't have the income, and they're not getting the money in, from a lot of things. I mean, like South by Southwest just laid a third of their staff off today. Now, that's not a huge amount. That's a third of 175 people. It's what, 60 people roughly, 59, 58, somewhere around there. But it's still an impact. You may see more of that happening as people and employers and businesses are having to tighten up the ship a little bit because not so many people are coming in. Now, here's the thing that you want to do. You're going to probably have to, and I think this in good nature, is, hey, offer up some leniency on your payment plans. Offer up some leniency to your borrowers. Maybe do a short-term trial payment plan. Give them the window for 30, 60, 90 days if they're delayed or in default. Those are things that we are planning here to do. And we're not going to be sending letters out immediately. We're going to wait and see how this thing rides out the next 2 weeks or next 3 weeks and go from there, starting in the first part of April. But the thing is that we will be doing is we will be avoiding events. We will travel less. We will be staying home and doing more online like we've always done. And I think that's a great thing. I think if you look at what you're doing, many of you guys and gals out there as real estate investors or not investors can do a lot of your stuff online through Zoom or webinars or Facebook Lives to still communicate, to still market, still talk with your clients. I think the biggest thing that you want to do is like many businesses, they're sending letters out, they're letting everybody know that they're concerned about it, and work on that. Now, I've seen some people talk about how, hey, we were in the process of buying a house. I think we need to go back and renegotiate and reduce our bids. You can do that. I honestly think the day in, day out operations for most of your normal businesses aren't going to change. People are still going to be buying houses. People are going to still be selling houses. People are going to still be looking to move. As long as this doesn't spread into a huge, high percentage of affected people across the country, I think you're still going to see very normal day in, day out operations. That may be a little less travel. People are staying home more. They're working and taking their kids out of school, but business still has to come. Business still has to happen. Now, what will they do? Will they delay tax fines on April 15th to a later date? It's a possibility. There's been some talk about that. I think they're just going to say, hey, just file your extensions like you would normally do anyway till October. And I think we've got the next 30, 60 days are going to be critical in seeing where everything's going. Now, like I said before, if you've got cash, you've got things in there, I think that's a good time to be stockpiling that stuff. Why? Well, more banks are going to see defaults. And I guarantee a lot of the banks are be incorporating similar tactics in a way to help their client base. Hey, if you've been affected or sick with this or been laid off due to the coronavirus outbreak, they're going to double check this stuff. You're not going to say, hey, I've been laid off for 6 months and I got laid off to the coronavirus. That's not going to fly, as we all know. But we do know, and as we've seen in other natural disasters, we say with Katrina, the hurricanes, where the banks will reach out to those that are in those areas and say, hey, don't worry about it. We'll figure something out over the next 6 months. I think we're going to see more of that going on. Now, the biggest thing that you have to do more than anything else is not dive in and be part of the chaos. Keep a cool, calm, and collected mind. It is not the end of the world. Well, at least we don't think it is anyway. Toilet paper will arrive for everybody to be able to do things in the toilet paper. Cleaning supplies will be there. What I want you guys to know more so than anything else, though, is just take a deep breath and use common sense in your biggest things and reach out. People, nobody wants to be in a bad situation, but like I said before, when you have majority of the country is one missed paycheck away from being upside down or being default, we're there. 1 out of 10 Americans on average are already about 30 days behind their mortgage. We're no longer in a bull market. We've reached the bear market when you look at what the stocks and bonds have been doing and going from there. So it's a bit of time to tighten up a little bit. Maybe you need to take a look at what's been running through your accounts and get rid of some of those things that you haven't been using. If you haven't been to the gym since January 2nd, and maybe it's a time to go ahead and cancel that gym membership. That's another thing. I wouldn't be running around in masks and surgical gloves for the most part, but just make sure if you are going to a public place, you do keep clean, you do wash your hands, you're not putting your hands in your mouth and in your face or things like that. Just be smart about what you're doing and have some common sense. I think it's the most important thing. Business is still going to need to go on. Real estate's needed to happen. You're still going to have people buying. You're going to still have renters in place. And this also goes back to if you've got renters that have been affected, you may need to reach out to them, as it's depending on what part of the country you're in or where you're located at, to see what's happened. When you look at the amount of people that it's not just the sick, it's the affected from all the vendors, like we've talked about, for all the people that support these teams, these conferences, these big events. Somebody mentioned that they'd heard somewhere before they expected at least a third of the big festivals to probably go out of business because they may not be able to afford the refunds or the cancellations or things like that. I don't foresee that. I think we're looking at a 60, 90-day blip like we have with other things out there. And I'm not being cavalier. I'm still taking precautions myself, washing and making sure to increase my vitamin C intake and making sure to avoid bigger crowds. But the thing I want you to get at more so these days, the way the world works these days, it is not, we're not all required to show up to see something. Use the technology that's available to you to communicate, use the technology. And this, if you've got some time off, put some assets in place. And by assets, start putting some things online. Start developing your marketing list. Well, I'm not saying the banks are going to have defaulted notes right now to buy from, but in 6 months, in 3 months, hey, you may see an increase in default rates across the country. And we'll follow back up with that as well. What I want more than anything else out there for you guys that are watching this is to make sure you know what's coming. Don't be a bigger part of the problem, but make sure you take the time. Make sure you think through things. Don't be a knee-jerk reaction. And that's the worst thing that you could possibly do. A lot of people will be knee-jerky and start doing stupid things and rush out and do horrible things. And that's the last thing you want to do. Be smart about it. If you're in the note in the real estate game, communicate with your borrowers, communicate with your renters, talk with them. Hopefully you've put some reserves aside. Hopefully you got some money a little bit in the bank. If you haven't, now's the time to start putting that money aside. Start planning. Start putting the money in your IRAs. Start putting something inside of reserves in case something does happen to you, to make sure that you're okay, you're prepared if you've got to go an extra 30 days or if you've got to go 2 weeks up there. And if you know somebody who is struggling, maybe it's the time to listen. We're not going to worry about this month's mortgage payment. We'll put on the back face of the amount. We're not going to make you in default. We're going to give you a month or 2 months to get back on track. That's the logical thing to do, especially if your borrowers have been paying on time. And if they are affected, just communicate with them. Talk to your tenants. Talk to your buyers. I would not go back and say, hey, we need to negotiate down 5 or 10%. I guess you could do that. Totally fine. But I always like to have the golden rule. What would I like? If it's not affecting us right now in this minute, hey, and you can close this week or you can close next week, hey, let's get it done. If your money's coming from a bank, I don't have to show up to 1,000 person or 200, even 100 person spot to talk or to sign documents. I don't think things really change that much or focus on things. So I will think, here's a couple of things I think are be more affected more than anything. I think your short-term Airbnbs are going to have the bigger impact as people maybe aren't traveling as much or especially to different places like San Diego, to Orlando, to San Francisco, to Vegas for some of the different events. I think those that have events that are going on in those places, they're doing a big reach out. They're really double checking down. We've seen several events over the last couple of days send out notices like, hey, here's what we're doing to take part in helping this. And then they are also, hey, we're going to go ahead and delay or we're going to postpone. So keep that in mind. If you don't have to travel, stay home. If you can avoid big crowds, hey, that's the best thing. Last thing you want to do is make fun of this. Last thing you want to do is be a carrier or spread things everywhere else out there. So use the tools that are available these days. Use the internet. Use Instagram, Facebook, video to share what you've got going on. If you're home, now's a great time to start filming some assets and videos that you can use in your marketing, in your real estate business, in your note business to get the word out on what's going on. And that's really what I have to say. I know common sense isn't always common in a time of stress, but honestly, more than anything else, just take a deep breath, make some preparations a little bit. I think this is going to be a short blip in the market. I think, we'll see what happens with the stock market and everything else that's going on with the elections and things like that. But just be prepared. It doesn't mean go out and stock out on 20 cases of toilet paper or bleach, and definitely don't be drinking no bleach to clean yourself out. Just do the right things, everybody. Keep it in mind, keep calm and invest on, as I like to say. And that's all I've got for this episode. Just wanted to get out there and say, hey, there will be some long-term effects with defaults. People, unemployed. Will that number increase? Yeah, it may increase. Will the rates decrease, yeah, I think the Feds are going to drop the market again to drop, infuse some more money into the market. But the thing is, even with bailouts, that takes time for that money to get in the hands of people. And a lot of the people that are affected are going to be your first-time buyers, it's going to be people in the service industry of some sort. The tourism industry is where you're going to see the most amount of problems, whether they're your renters, your buyers, or your borrowers on your deals. So be safe, be smart, and God bless the USA, everybody. And we look forward to seeing you all at the top, everybody. Bye.